Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Rooted Deep podcast. Allison and I are here today. My name is Reba Bowman, and thanks for joining us. Allison, we are in the middle of this discussion with people from every decade. And we're not in the middle of it. We're actually at the beginning of it. It feels like we're in the middle of it because we've been talking about it so much. But we are starting with these conversations with women in every single decade. And so today, we're kicking off with two women in their 20s, which I think is just going to be fun.
Yeah, I don't know if you did it. I got up a teeny bit earlier and tried to do the makeup to where I look a little bit younger because today we're talking to like baby girls, 20-year-old, they're in their 20s. And lately I've been saying, oh, kids these days, or you would have thunk, kind of thing. And we just did, Reba, you and I just did a conversation about aging. And
Yes,
I'm like,
we
oh,
did.
these girls don't have not had to worry about that yet. But Samantha and Samik have some things in their 20s that they're struggling with that when we were in our 20s, we didn't have to worry about. The whole social media,
Yeah.
the political climate. There's a lot of things that they're going through that when we were in our 20s, I felt like we were a little bit more carefree than what the 20-year-olds these days have to deal with. And so
Yeah.
I'm excited to have Samantha and Samik. It's Sam and Samik right here. They're sisters, obviously, and they're entrepreneurs, but they're also in ministry. They've served in Mercy Ministry down in the Dominican, and they also serve with Four Generation, which is another organization that in the Dominican, but it's exploding all over the place, I feel like. So they're gonna tell us about that as well. But this is so Sam, raise your hand. There you are, Sam, on one side,
There
and
we go.
Steve is over here, and they call each other sister, and so I can't get away with that because I have to actually call them by their names. But welcome to the show, and you guys are in your 20s.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Thank you guys so much for having us. We're excited for this conversation.
Yeah.
That's really cool because I think it's like Ali was saying. I think when we were in our 20s, um, honestly, I think one of the biggest things that's changed over the time period is when I was in my 20s, I didn't really have a voice.
Yeah.
I mean, I had one, but nobody was listening to it because I was in my 20s.
I hear you.
It's like, when you're in your 30s, we'll listen to you. And honestly, I think it was till I was in my 40s that anybody even listened to a word I said. But I think what's changed about that is that there's so many things that we are learning and listening to and engaging with 20-year-olds. And what we're finding is that they have so much to bring to the table, so much different perspective than other people have. And there's so much value in that. This is not like, oh, you're just a kid. Well, yeah, you're younger than we are, but you bring value to the table for your generation, which is powerful.
Yeah. And some perspective. So you guys, we'll start with Samik. You start first and give us a little intro bio to who you are, and then we'll hear from Sam as well.
Oh yeah. So I am Samik. I can tell my age, right?
Absolutely.
I'm hitting 30, so I'm close to 27. I am 27. I turned 28 soon. But I graduated Valdosta Valdosta State University, 2017. Went and got my master's degree, and then sister and I started Hermanas Italian Ice in 2020. So mid 2020, in the midst of the pandemic, sister and I started our entire nice business together, and that has been a blast. Yeah, what I like to do on my days off is literally rest and watch some good YouTube.
That's awesome. All right, what about you, Sam?
Hello, everybody. I am Sam, as they had mentioned, but I have a little bit of a different intro story to my sister. So I went to community college for about 2 years. And then I was like, all right, I finished that. Let me go to 4-year university. I went there for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And then I was like, all right, I don't think this is for me. So I ended up, I stopped going to college altogether. And then me and sister talked about Hermanas. It was a dream that our dad kind of like put in our hearts. So we decided like, okay, 2020 is here. my previous job, and I was like, all right, let's go ahead and dive off the deep end, as they would say. So it's been definitely an interesting journey. Learn like keeping learning what I did learn in. I'm sorry, there's a lot of music over here,
That's
but
right.
learning how to like run the business and what that looks like for my life, because definitely not what I thought my life would be like during this time. So we will definitely dive in on that a little bit later.
Yeah, good.
Okay,
So
so I
Atlanta
want to get this.
Italian Ice, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want to say, Allie. Me and you're thinking exactly like the name.
Yeah.
For those that are not Spanish speakers, come on. So translate, Allie.
Yeah, so these girls are sisters and hermanas, and they do have you might not be able to tell right off, but they do have some Latina blood. And so they are hermanas, being sisters, and they started a business called Hermanas Italian Ice, which is some delicious Italian. When they come and visit, they pack it around and they get it all frozen, and then they bring it over and they pass it out, and that's how they make friends down here. So tell us a little bit more about your ice business.
Yes. So like I mentioned, it started in 2020. One of the main reasons we even started was because of Four Generations. So Four Generations, I'll let Sister explain it because she is phenomenal at explaining Four Generations, but it's our nonprofit that our dad and some of his friends started in 2018. So 10% of Hermana's revenue goes right back to Four Generations and helping what Four Generations is doing down in Dominican and just Latin America in general, coming up to the Americas as well. But Hermana's is a yummy, sweet tree Italian ice, and it's made with real fruit. So our biggest thing was we wanted a very healthy alternative to people that can't do lactose, can't do ice cream, or didn't want like too much syrup in their frozen treats. So we were like, hey, we love the taste of the fineness of Italian ice. And we're originally from Jersey. So we used to have Italian ice all the time with our family. Just after like bike rides, or like we would literally just hop in the car and go grab some Italian ice. And when we moved down to Georgia, we didn't see much down there. And so we found a space that we could fill and help to provide that experience for other families. So that is what we've been doing, and serving amazing parents and their students, and then teachers, even at schools for appreciations and at festivals. But Sister can let you know what Four Generations is all about.
Yeah, so Four Generations, to me, kind of touched on it a little bit, but it's all about bringing cybersecurity awareness to the Americas. Dad specifically started in the Dominican because he took a trip here. He connected with some people at Las Palmas, and he was like, this is a perfect opportunity to start that model of bringing technology down here, because a lot of Latin American communities, cultures are all about baseball. Baseball is wonderful. It's exciting. A lot of people strive to do it and specifically go to America and play baseball. But not everybody is going to be able to make it in baseball, unfortunately. But with bringing cybersecurity awareness, it gives them another opportunity to either come to America or just to learn something that is like growing. The industry in technology is always growing. Everything that we do is like technology based for the most part. So just bringing something else that they can use and pass down to like their families, let their community know about it. We have a few students right now in the US studying technology. We have more to come very soon. So it's very exciting to see the different generations go through Four Generations.
It's really
And
cool.
so the students, there are students from our school, Las Palmas, who have gone on and gotten scholarships in the States in a cybersecurity or a technology based major. And so, and four generation, I mean, is just funneling that. And I think it's exciting because it is. And then, and we saw in 2020, we were all like, man, cybersecurity. And then all of a sudden 2020 happened. And then everybody, and you've seen everything that's happened in the last 3 years, cybersecurity, and even what just happened with the airplanes, just recently. And
Yesterday.
I mean,
Yeah.
like literally when we're talking, it flights and so it's such a huge market that they're giving opportunities to developing countries, especially in the Americas, to step in and fill a very important need. And so I think it's so interesting that you guys are so passionate about Italian ice and cybersecurity. And you don't think it goes together, but in this, with you two sisters, it absolutely does. And so we kind of want to jump in and ask you some of the tough questions. I mean, you guys are, talked a little bit about your education, and you're kind of mid to late 20s. And so what is something that, as you're entering this decade, kind of in your 20s, what were you expecting to happen versus what actually happened, or what were you surprised about? What are you surprised at this stage?
I definitely would love sister to kick us off on that one.
That's funny. I was about to start too. I think definitely thinking my life would be how I planned. So I planned for my life to go, okay, I'm going to a 4-year university. I find my husband at that time. I get married. I have kids. We just go on living life. I have a at-home mom. That was always on my heart. It's still a dream of mine that I know will come in its time. But it's definitely different. One, not finishing college like I thought I would. And then two, starting a business. I never thought that I would be the type of person to start a business or be capable enough to have like the different information. So that's definitely been a learning experience in my 20s. Also, I guess like job wise, a lot of us think we're gonna do a certain career, or a lot. I hear one of my friends actually went to college. She went to do physical therapy and everything, but she hasn't been able to find any jobs in her field. So I think a lot of things that people in our 20s can relate is like we strive to do a particular thing, and then we ended up, I don't know, working at a restaurant that we might have not thought that we would have. So definitely different expectations on thinking you'll have like a super stable job. And we see a lot of people my age are still at home with their parents and not living on their own and not having that sense of independence that we see that our parents or like our grandparents had after doing their college or like just picking a career right out of high school. So I think that is very different for our generation.
Oh yeah, that is so good. And I guess I'm on the opposite spectrum of sister. Like I mentioned, I did go to a 4-year college, and then I got my master's degree online. And so by doing that, I always thought like, okay, 4 years, I went to school for business management. I always knew in my heart I wanted to be a CEO of a company. I remember being asked when I was younger, like, what company? It would always, like, my answer would be, I'm not sure. And so whenever I finally graduated, still not knowing what I wanted to do, not knowing what field I necessarily wanted to be in because I wanted to be an owner. And so I remember like the in-between time of graduating from the 4-year and starting Hermanas. To be honest, I went to get my master's degree to fill time in. Like, okay, I ended up getting a master's degree in leadership because I do enjoy being around people. I love the psychology of us humans and like why we do what we do and how to lead. And so even in that between time, whenever I went home, I didn't realize that I would be going home and like just staying with my parents again. So like my expectation is like I'm graduating, like I'm gonna find this good job that pays me like X amount of money, get my own apartment, keep it moving. But what my reality was, I went back home and I ended up working with my sister. So sister and I ended up working together in between the time that we started Hermanas. And to be honest, it helped us, for one, get to know each other better and how we work together. And I think that time like was very fruitful and awesome for me because I got to see my sister like outside the realm of like just like being my sister, like we worked together. And so that expectation in my 20s was a thing and it has been a thing, and just like figuring out what I want life to look like as I get into my 30s and my 40s has also been like a big thing that I've been thinking about in my 20s. Like I know my parents were like married and having us around this time. And to be honest, I can't even imagine having kids at my age, like with all the different things I have going on. But yeah, it's been really, really cool. And I guess challenging with the expectation that I would be like doing a certain thing and then maybe seeing people on social media like, oh, they said that once they graduated, they would be doing this, and now they're doing this. And for me, like owning our own business, that has been a challenge and experience and growth in itself of learning like it takes a minute for businesses to get on the ground and like get your roots in and get community and learning those different things. So it's been a fun journey, but definitely different expectations than when I was younger.
Yeah, that's really cool because I think as I've gotten older, one of the things I've learned is flexibility is the name of the game. You have to learn to be flexible. And I think that's such a great insight there is like, okay, we thought life was going to look like this. This is kind of how we painted it out to be. And then all of a sudden we got there and that's not at all what it looked like. And, and what you do in that next moment is crucial. Some people are like, just forget it. And then other people are like, no, wait a minute, let's find a way through it. And I think, if we were to just have said, these girls are in their 20s, they own their own business, and they're people on the outside are going, wow, that's really cool. These guys are, but I think it's really cool for people to hear, no, wait a minute. We didn't dream of an Italian ice company at the beginning. We had different expectations and different dreams, but this is the path that we've been kind of led down, and we've taken advantages of opportunities that we've had when we've had them. So I think these are really cool. Man, I hope people are listening are grabbing these because there's so many good things in this to say, wait a minute, life may not always give you what you think it's going to give you, but what do you do with what it gives you? So really, really cool. Okay, so let me ask you this. What would you say are some positives and some negatives? So we've got positives and negatives, of course. What are some positives and negatives about being in your 20s?
That's a good.
Oh yeah.
All right, Sam, you think it's a good question, so we're gonna let you take it then. What do you think?
Some positives and negatives. I think a positive for me that I'm still like grabbing a hold of is looking at I'm still young. Yes, I might not have took hold of when I was like, I guess like in high school, people always said like, oh, you're gonna grow up like really fast and like all these responsibilities are gonna come. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm in high school. Like I want to grow up. I want to be able to do my own thing. I want to be able to drive. Come on now. But like now being in my 20s, like I'm gonna turn 25 this year, and everybody keeps on saying like, oh, once you turn 25, like years just fly by, and I'm like, hold on, like let's like really slow down now. So I'm learning to be more positive in my 20s of like enjoying it. Like, okay, I'm still young, I'm not married, I don't have kids. So what can I do now that will be positive for my future? And I think negative, I don't have too many negative things, but I think a negative that I can think of like being in my 20s is that I grew up in the social media age. I got on social media, I think, in like middle school. So I went through life with a lot of comparing, a lot of looking at other people's lives like, whoa, I hope that I'm going to be like that when I'm that age, or I wish I could do that when like you see people my age or social media influencers. So like their whole life is just like posting and like making content and different stuff like that. So looking at something like that, like, oh, I wish I could be able to do that, but that's not the space that I'm in or something that I guess wouldn't really want to do because I don't like my life to be out in the front of everybody. So definitely a negative would be a lot of time comparing myself, even how young I am, but a lot of my life was spent comparing on social media.
Wow.
Wow.
Good.
That's beautiful. That's beautifully said because I want to piggyback on that negative because I relate to that so heavy. Especially seeing people that are like older and even when I was younger, me thinking that 30 or 40 or 50 is old, like that was a whole thing. But now as I'm like creeping up on 30, I'm like 30 is like a great time and like seeing like my parents like thrive at their ages and like my grandparents still thriving and still like loving and living has been really cool. But also me realizing that growing up with social media, I am looking at 40 and 50 and 60-year-olds that have been doing different things for like 20 plus years, and they have learned and had community with friends and family and learned how to navigate different things. Me thinking that I'll have that in the next 3 years. Like, no, I'm learning like that's not necessarily the case. And to continue to lean on the wisdom of those older and younger than me and understanding that my time, like my time is on divine time. So like the different timelines that I have placed for myself or think like, oh, you should be doing this or you should be doing that. It's not necessarily the realistic thing. And so because it's not, it's okay for me to enjoy being 20, like Samantha mentioned, like enjoy that I'm able to like get up and travel wherever I want to, whenever I want to. Since I'm not married, don't have any kids yet, I'm able to go to my friends and my family that do have families that can't come travel. Like I can go to them now. And I can just enjoy what it looks like to build community, enjoy what it looks like to go on different random adventures. Not saying that we won't be able to later, but I think because my time is more flexible, like Ms. Reba mentioned, I'm able to like hop around. And so that's definitely been a positive, especially right now. Sister and I are in our off season in a sense. So we have a slower season with hermanas. Because we're business owners at our age, we are able to travel during this time versus during the peak months, like come March of this year until basically November, beginning of December, like we're on go. And that has been another thing too, like usually people my age, like during the summertime, like they're working, but they have time to like go on vacations. Sister and I are like working and working and working and working. And so like we get to visit like different places that are warm in the winter because in the summer, like that time is different looking. So
That's awesome that you mentioned spending time with or just kind of hearing the wisdom from, older generations and watching, parents and grandparents and watching. But do you have friends in different decades, like a decade before, a decade or two on, friends in your 30s and 40s and even in your teens that kind of shape the conversation and it sounds like you guys are learning and also giving wisdom. And so tell us a little bit about that. We'll start with you, Sam.
I do definitely have friends that are older, friends that are younger. I would say Mia. So Mia is a family friend.
Yeah.
But I'll start with Mia, but just being because right now I am in the Dominican. I am spending 3 weeks down here just being able to serve at Las Palmas, get more involved in Mercy's day to day, and just enjoy being around new people and family down here. But I think definitely spending time with Mia and just seeing at such a young age how mature she is, and also looking through the lens of she's not worried about like, are the bills getting paid, or is there going to be food on the table? Like, she knows like everything's being taken care of. So like looking through her eyes of like, well, I'm down here, let me really enjoy being here, let me play the game, let me have the conversations and different stuff like that, because in our day-to-day lives we are focused on like a lot of external of like the what's going on in the news, or like this bad thing just happened, and oh no, like I forgot to pay a bill, I don't know, like different stuff like that. So like looking through the lens of like just enjoying where you are, enjoying the moment, having fun, building a sand castle. Like, when's the last time you did that? Like, built a sand castle. So like definitely learning through her. And then older, Valerie, it was really cool. I got to connect with her and just talked about life, and we shared our life stories and everything like that. So it was like really cool connecting and seeing how similar we are. So looking at her, I see like, okay, she's still kind of going through the same things I am, and like this is how she's dealing with it. So whenever I get to my 30s, I'm like, okay, let me make sure I take what she was saying and like apply it to that time in my life. So I think definitely, I think it's important for us to look for wisdom in those who are younger than us and those who are older than us, because you learn different perspectives. Because I would have never thought I could learn something from somebody who's still, I think, a wee baby herself. So yeah, definitely looking for wisdom in those older and younger than us.
Oh yeah. Because even thankfully during this time, like sister and I have been able to go on a cousins trip. And so our cousins, I think we range from 19 maybe, to like 30 something. And so just being in that space with each other has been a joy, because I had a conversation with one of my younger cousins, and she's still in college, a college senior. Whoop, whoop. And so just reminded me of where I was that age and that time and that space, and how things just felt like, okay, like let's just get to this finish line of graduation. And it helps me remember that there are generations coming up after us, and because there are, what they're going through matters. And wanting to be that resource. Like, hey, the other day she asked, like, what are different Christian YouTube like channels that you watch? And so I was like loving that, because YouTube's a big thing that I'm like into. Like, I will watch everything on YouTube, like messages, relationships, all that goodness. And so I was able to share my resources with her, but also remembering that she has wisdom to give as well. Like, she is one that put me on to one of the YouTube channels that has literally helped to change my life and my perspective on the Lord, how I see dreams, prophecy, all that goodness. And so even with my with the older generation that I have been connecting with, like one of my aunts, we are able to connect on like Fridays for like a 30-minute call. And it's like a check-in with my spiritual, but also like, how are you really doing? Like, what are you feeling? All that good stuff. And she always encourages me and tells me like, I learned stuff from you as well. So that's always like nice. Like, it is not just like a one-way situation. And then one of my other friends, Miss Annabelle, she has a beautiful family. And it's really cool just being able to be around her and see her raise her young boys with her husband, and knowing that I would love to be in that stage one, like here sometime in the future, but knowing that even though we're in different spaces, we can still connect on different things, and we can still like love on each other and learn from each other. So that's just the most encouraging thing for me, like knowing generations have come before, us and generations will continue to come behind us. And so sharing knowledge is so big.
That's cool. So what are you looking forward to as you think about your 30s? So you guys sit in your 20s right now. And as you've mentioned different things, having friendships with people in their 30s. But as you think about your 30s and you think about that next step for you, what are you looking forward to? What are some things that you're saying, boy, as I enter that next stage, these are some things I'm looking forward to?
Definitely. I think for me, I don't know if it's going to happen in these upcoming 20s or my 30s, but definitely looking forward to whenever the Lord brings me and my husband together. And since I've spent a lot of this time, and I continue to spend this time getting to know who he says I am, getting to know him, getting to build my relationship, getting to go and get out my comfort zone and like meet new people, go new places, and looking forward to the journey of me getting connected to him and the time to like get to know him, and then being married and what that will look like, and then start having kids and being able to pour into my kids what I've learned and continue to learn as I'm in my 30s. What else? I think traveling more. Having a lot of people talk about 30s or your 20s with like a bank account, like a big bank account. I mean, that we're gonna pray for that, and we're gonna be expectant that that's gonna be how it is. But definitely, like enjoying life more, and traveling is my biggest thing. I love traveling, love going new places, and definitely expectant of knowing Spanish. That is what has been on my heart. I want to be able to
That's what Rita's
come
hoping
down
for the next decade as well. For
Telling
herself.
you, I
Into
so
her
admire
60s.
that. Lock that down while you're in your 20s and your brain does language well. Because as you get older, the brain says language.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of, yeah, definitely. So being expected of like in my 30s, I'm fluent and just
Get it down.
flowing with it.
Get it down. I can't wait. Can't wait.
Yeah, so definitely
Oh
looking
man.
forward to
So
that.
Samik, what are you thinking as you look forward? What are some things you're anticipating and maybe even praying for?
Oh, so definitely better health. Like really understanding that like as we're aging, our body changes and it's going to change. And so like taking care of our vessel or my vessel now and learning what it looks like to have a consistent like working out life, have a consistent eating plan to where I'm feeding my body better than I have been in my 20s, because Chick-fil-A and fries fried stuff. Like we've been friends. This is my 20s decade. And so just changing, shifting that lifestyle little by little. I'm also looking forward to having a husband, getting married. Who knows if it's going to be in this next decade? But I'm like, all right, Lord, I'm ready when you are. When it comes to that. And then even like Sam mentioned, the financial piece, like better financial literacy and learning what it looks like to build generational wealth now, and what it looks like to start saving. And because I keep on hearing like it compounds like as we continue to grow and get older. So like starting now, I feel like it's a pretty good idea. So
it's a great idea. It's a great idea.
Yes.
Your life will look very different when you're my age if you get a hold of that now. I can trust me on that one. So that's great.
Yeah, and I think you both, have we talked about positives a little bit, but and each of us in every decade when we talk about it, there's stuff that we've been surprised by, there's stuff that we knew this was going to happen kind of thing. But every single one of us, because we talked about being in your 30s last week, and we talked about that we just had that interview. We were just, we were talking about to different people, and we've got all these upcoming conversations, and every single person in every single decade is able to find something that they are enjoying about their decade right now. What do I enjoy? And so it's different for every decade, I feel like, but it also reminds others, hey, yeah, I remember that, or yeah, I think I can still enjoy that. Or maybe there's some girls in their 20s that are like, oh, I didn't see things from that perspective. So what is something each of you, and this might even be a shorter answer, but what is something each of you is just, I'm really enjoying this time of life right now because, whatever. So just throw it out there.
I think for me, enjoying the traveling aspect. Like I mentioned, I'm in the Dominican right now for 3 weeks. Like I can't even imagine like another time that I could really spend down here, because I know whenever you have kids and married, like you can't just hop up and leave for 3 weeks when you feel like it. So definitely I'm enjoying being able to travel, and especially traveling with my sister because we are always together. So yeah, I think definitely the traveling aspect is what I'm enjoying right now.
I love that. And then for me, I'm definitely enjoying getting to know myself. Like I thought I knew myself, but I am like finding out different things that I like and enjoy. For example, the other day I went to the Civil Rights Museum and Center here in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I just went by myself. And I'm realizing like I enjoy going to like museums. I enjoy doing like Sudoku puzzles and like crosswords, because right now I'm off of social media, so I'm trying to figure out, okay, like what do I like doing outside of social media? And then even like going to like a random park. There was like a park with a big lake that I just got to sit at and read. So like just getting to enjoy and learn who I am has been a nice sweet treat.
That's awesome. Well, right, we're getting ready to get down to closing this out with some rapid fire questions, which we always enjoy doing. But I want to ask you one more serious question before we dive into some fun rapid fire questions that we do at the end. And that is, let's just say right now there's a 17-year-old listening to this podcast, or they're watching on YouTube. And they're like, okay, these girls are in their 20s. They own an Italian ice company. This is cool. I want to be like them when I grow up. What advice would you give them if you could speak back to being 17 again, knowing what you know now? What advice would you give a 17-year-old listening to the podcast right now?
I would say definitely enjoy where you are. I know you hear a lot of people who are older than you say, like, really enjoy where you are. And I think that's a big thing, because a lot of times we want to grow up so fast and we want to like be our own person and do our own thing. So I would say enjoy where you are as you are learning who you are and whose you are. I would say that.
Yes. And then I would say, hi, friend, get in community, find others that enjoy doing what you like doing. Don't feel like you have to fit into like a different mold or like a certain way of being. Like, figure out who you are, read books on things that you enjoy, join a book club or something that like people enjoy doing what you're doing. Like, you don't have to change yourself to fit into different groups. And just find community, get to know yourself, and enjoy life.
It's awesome. All right, well, let's do some. You ready, Allie, to kind of jump into some rapid fire questions? I think that'll be fun.
Yeah,
All
let's
right.
do some. Yeah, absolutely. So go ahead. You
All
start.
right, so I'll start off with, these are just fun questions. So you can have any meal you want, any meal. What are you eating?
Can it be like a whole? Because I love pasta.
Yeah.
So like anything like with pasta and some bread, like I'm all for it. So I would say maybe Cajun pasta would be my go-to. Yeah.
Yes,
Cool.
and I'm a burgers and pizza girl, and that's why I'm like, all right, 30s.
Yeah, right.
We gotta do better. But yeah, anything burgers or pizza, like a nice burger with a bunch of yummy toppings. Like, I think my go-to are like the smokehouse burgers. And then pizza, I'm definitely like a pineapple chicken type situation. Yep,
Yes.
yep, yep.
All right, good. Well, do not invite me over when you are serving pizza. Hot
That's-
fruit on the pizza is never, I'm never a fan. All right, so girls, what's your favorite movie? And it could be something like all-time fave, or it could be just like just recently, hey, this is my new fave. What's the favorite movie of the day?
My favorite movie is Despicable Me 2. I love that movie so much. I love kids' movies. And also Frozen 2. That's a big movie for me. Definitely moved me spiritually. So those would be my top two.
Oh, I have three that came to mind. Fat Albert, like I used to watch it on DVD and on loop all night. So Fat Albert, Takers. I just enjoy the cast of Takers and the adventure of like everything that goes on. And then Open Season 2. Like I'm also an animation type girl, and they did a phenomenal job on that movie.
Oh, fun. Cool.
It's really
All
cool.
right. So what book are you guys reading right now? Are you guys, or are you, I mean, you could be a favorite podcast would be Rooted Deep. Obviously you would answer that. But if you're reading a book right now, or what's a good book that you're reading?
The Lord knew, because it's right here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's called Anonymous by Alicia Cole. But this book is talking about Jesus's hidden years, because a lot of his life we don't know what's going on. We hear like, okay, he's born, this happened, he was in the temple, his mom said, come on back home, and then it's silent for like years. So I really resonate with this book because I feel like the Lord has had me in a hidden season for the past like 3-ish years. So just learning from what the Lord did during that time. It's not any specifics, but we can kind of have a mirror into his hidden years because of what happens when we see him in the light. And just knowing the first thing that the Lord said to Jesus, even before he started his ministry, is like, this is my son and I'm well pleased with him. And that really spoke to my heart of, yes, I might not be doing like really big things or like flashy things, and like people don't know what's going on behind the curtain, but just knowing he's saying like, Samantha is my daughter and I am I'm pleased with her. So I think that's a really good book if you want to grab that.
Good one.
Oh, yeah.
It's good.
And then the one I am reading, and I guess I'm listening to books as well, but reading physically is Your Purpose is Calling, which I got for Christmas by one of my friends, and it's by Dr. Darius Daniels. And he actually planted a church down in Atlanta about 2 months ago. And so just being mentored by him and figuring out, okay, Lord, I know my purpose is to love on people and to uplift, especially women that are feeling like they don't know what they want to do, feeling like they aren't enough, knowing that my calling and a part of my purpose is to reach them and encourage them with my words. Just this book is helping me realize how unique I am. And even if I feel like someone is doing a similar thing that I am, they're not doing the same exact thing because we have different stories. And learning to celebrate my story. And that helps me to, instead of compare my story, celebrate other stories as well. So it's a
good stuff. Well, we always like to end the podcast with one singular question for everybody, because our podcast is called Rooted Deep, and we talk about there are things in life that just anchor our souls, and they take us through every single decade we'll ever live. And what are some things right now, or maybe there's one thing, but what keeps you rooted deep, Sam? We'll just kind of go back to you, then come back to Samik. What keeps you rooted deep in life in your 20s?
I think my sister keeps me definitely rooted in this season of life, because just knowing that she's always there and knowing that she always points me back to Jesus and like the love he has for me, and her encouragement of like, even if I'm like straying away, she's like, all right, it's time to come back over here, spend a little bit of time with him, even if it's just a simple conversation. So she's definitely is keeping me rooted in this season.
That is so funny because I have the same exact answer. Like, definitely our conversations. Like, we started a devotional the other day. I didn't realize that I don't talk as much as I think I do, like expressing my feelings and letting others in, that vulnerability, that transparency. But she's also always been one to listen, and I know she's like a safe space, and she's not gonna like take it and like run with it and tell the whole world, which is nice. But she has definitely helped me stay rooted, and continues to point me to Christ, and kind of shows me his face physically. So that's a joy.
Great compliment. Well, it's been a delight to have you guys on the podcast today. How cool is this? And I'm so glad that Allison, you started as Allison knew you first. So I'm really glad she recommended you guys. And Hermana's Italian Ice. And if people can get a chance to grab some Italian Ice with you, they should. That would be
because
awesome.
you guys are in that, you're in the Atlanta area, am I correct? Like, so tell us a little bit like where they can get, if somebody wants some Italian Ice, or they want, a church wants to have your band over there for an activity. That's what you guys do, right?
Yes. So on our Instagram is Hermana's Ice. That's where you can find us. You can see where we are. We're definitely in the Atlanta area. We've traveled as far as an hour and a half away. So definitely, if you're in Georgia, connect with us and we can see what we can do to get you some yummy ice.
Oh, that's
Yes.
cool.
And then how you spell our Instagram name is also our website. So it's HermanaSice. So Hermana's Ice.
There you go.
Perfect.
Well,
Oh,
I
that's
feel
perfect.
younger having talked to the girls in their 20s, right, Reba? I
Yeah.
mean, you're just ready to go out and eat,
Yeah.
cartwheels or something. But
Well, I don't know. I couldn't even do a cartwheel in my 20s, so maybe not. But no, it's been a delight to have you guys here, and just kind of reflecting on where you're at in your 20s. We wish you the best of luck, and I do believe that God's got great things for you guys, and I can't wait to see how that all flourishes out as you go through every season of your life and see what God does. So really cool stuff. So, man, if you're in your 20s and you listen today, man, I hope you got a lot out of this. Maybe you're a little older than that, and it's good to be reminded of the energy and the joy that maybe you lost somewhere along the way. So go back and grab some of that from hang out with some 20-year-olds and get some of that energy back. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today on the podcast of Rooted Deep. We will be back next time with the 30s. So stay tuned.